Let me guess, you from the town that I love best. Talk Memphis, I wish you would. Talk Memphis, it sounds so good.
Today's show, Dan and I are going to talk about partnerships, why they're great, and who to choose. Dan, welcome to the show.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. We're starting off this week pretty good. It's hot.
Yeah, it's still hot. It's like, what in the world?
Mid-90s.
No spring.
Nothing.
And we still having hot weather in the middle of September.
I saw Saturday it's going to get to 85. So that we're all week we're going to be hot, and Saturday it's going to dip. So anyway, it's hot here in Memphis. So is the real estate.
Yeah.
Last week's show for the do-it-yourself landlords was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I really thought that your insight on that, specifically the longevity of you doing it yourself.
What not to do?
What not to do, yeah. We learned from your mistakes.
That's right.
Hearing you tell the stories about when you first started and chasing down rent and filling out leases on a truck bed and all that fun stuff that you shouldn't do.
Right.
We learned from your mistakes. So great information last week. I encourage you guys to go check it out.
I met a couple of clients came in town yesterday. It was pretty cool because they listened to they blitzkrieged our 3 zip code shows.
Yeah.
Had the map.
And
had
notes.
And the notes and drawn it all out. And he goes, where's this? Show me this 3rd Street again. And it was pretty funny.
It's awesome, right?
He drew it all out and had his plan of what he wanted to do after our show, of how to take that and apply it to where he wants to invest. So
in the 2 years, 2.5 now that we've been doing the show, that 3-part series on the zip codes has gotten the most attention, traction, questions, curiosity that we've ever done.
Yeah.
Now we'll probably have to redo it every 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, make sure
to
that
update
is valid,
everybody. Yeah, but those 3 shows that we did in a row there were fantastic, and I'm happy that they're logged on.
Well, and the cool thing about it, after going through it, he kept trying to decide where he wanted to be, and it all boils down to what kind of was clarifying for me is like, based on his risk profile. Really, in the city of Memphis and the surrounding areas, you can pick the rent value, and we can tell you the risk profile based on that rent value. Don't worry about so much the streets, and let us do that work for you.
That's a great point. That's what I tell investors all the time. Tell me your price range and rent range of what you want to spend and what you expect, and I'll put you in the right spot.
That's right.
Yeah. No.
So it was pretty clear to me yesterday. Like that's all we really need to know. What's your risk profile? What
that's right.
How engaged and not engaged? How much turnover can you handle? Are you okay with collecting rent on the 15th instead of the 5th?
A lot of people ask me, Dean, why wouldn't you just tell me something to sell me a house? It doesn't benefit me at all.
No.
If I'll need you to come back and buy more houses. I'm only as good as my last one.
Well, as I told him yesterday, I was like, the brutal honesty of just.
Yeah.
I used to sell anybody anything
because maybe that's what they wanted.
But that's what they wanted, and said now I just try to have some, what we call radical candor. Just because on the property management side, we're going to be your partner for years, and it's going to look like we're not doing our job in certain situations.
Right.
And it's really just the areas that drive that, that performance of that.
Oh yeah, it's not us. We're just letting you know how, what the deal is. I mean, we're here.
Right.
Yeah. No, great 3-part series. So go check that out. On the show's Facebook page, the Memphis Real Estate Hour. Yep. Today, this one can also be as equally as important to some people. We're going to talk about partnerships, why they're great, how to choose the right partner. I personally have never had a partner with any of my investing. I'm not saying that I wouldn't have one. But I know what we're going to talk about today, and I've got to see some of these things in a partner, and I haven't seen them yet. So I think the story you're about to tell is something that folks ought to listen to. You ought to think about your own kind of investing world and your investing strategy and see if a partner makes sense to you. So here's what, if you don't mind, what I'd like you to do. Douglas Skipworth has been on the show before. He is your partner. Y'all are co-founders with your LLC that owns all your rentals. You are co-founders in Crestcore Realty, as well as City Light Commercial Services, and some other smaller sister companies. So you have a very extensive experience level and knowledge when it comes to having a partner. You've had a long time. You guys have been doing this for a while. So talk a little bit about, for the next few minutes, I mean, take all the time you need. How did you talk about, I guess, briefly about you getting started. We've talked a little bit about that, but you getting started, and then how you met Douglas and why you thought it made sense to partner up with him.
Yeah, and I think I'd love to wrap that around too at the end. Just, I feel like you're a partner within the brokerage and how that looks, and play to that as well.
Right.
What's ironic about this topic is just yesterday, one of our people that we're friends with in the industry, not here in Memphis, but in our circle of influence, their partnership just blew up yesterday. Multi-million-dollar company, and some of the stuff we're about to talk about, I think, led to that blowing up.
Oh boy! And
there's going to be some gnashing of teeth and legal and all kinds of crazy stuff. The stuff that you hear about of why you don't want to have partners.
Right.
So, for Douglas and I think it started, back. We just met through running. Our wives were friends, and we moved literally like 4 houses down from each other. I can't remember 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 or 4, and started running, and really through that, learned how to hold each other accountable. I
always used to hear you guys say, don't ever ask if we're gonna run.
Yeah, we always get that question. Y'all still running? Well, we started in 2004. We're still running now. Yeah. So. And we're there, rain, snow.
You guys are there.
We're going to figure out how to run. Mm-hmm. Now, occasionally we'll have to go like inside a gym or something. But so holding each other accountable.
Yep.
We had to learn how to work together because we tried 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night with little babies, 5:30 when we got home from work, 5:30 in the morning. That was kind of too early, so we settled on 6. And we've been 6 since, who knows how many years ago that was. But but through that, we got to know each other really well. As far as just some of the intricacies of our personalities, and and I think that's really important. I like the 2 guys that came to our office yesterday. Wow, we're thinking about partnering up with some guys, and I'm like, red flag, because they have this grandiose idea to pull all this money together, buy a big apartment in Memphis. 5 of them, and I mean, one guy was, they got really strong personalities.
That's a disaster.
And that's fine. I mean, we all have strong personalities if we're entrepreneurs and, in this game to begin with, but how does that all click together? So, I think, so that's kind of our story. I mean, that's how it started. We just started with one house and just realized that, my strengths, his weaknesses, my strengths, and vice versa. I like doing a deal. He likes doing the process of the deal.
That's right. So y'all, and I want you to touch on this too, but you had your own portfolio before you guys partnered.
Correct.
And so did Douglas. He had some of his own. Right. So you guys were doing this on your own.
Yep. Separate.
And then
had our own careers.
Everything was separate.
Everything's separate.
Just ran in the mornings and probably discussed it and bounced ideas and that sort of thing. But at what point did you, and I guess it's a 2-part question, at what point and why did you decide to partner?
After the first couple, we did a couple tax sales. He was able to go down to the tax sales and bid, and I'm traveling all over the U.S. with my job, but I would handle the back end, getting them fixed up and dealing with the the first initial tenant stuff and the ongoing maintenance, and we just realized that we just kept doing that for a little while, and probably a couple of years where we kind of were doing a little bit of both, and then it was just on a run. At one point, we decided that we're just going to start solely focusing together. I don't remember the actual light bulb moment of just how that all clicked. But
did you figure together? I mean, it had to be, well, together we can move much quicker,
bigger. And we'll talk about some of that too, is just as far as like, when you're on your own, unless, you're fortunate with just the team around us that you got some good players.
I feel like I have a team and a partnership because of my situation. But
one of our, friends that came by the office last week, he owns 50 houses. He's owned 50 for like 10 plus years. And that's he capped out. But he has nobody around him.
That's all he can handle.
He can't think what to do next, how to automate, eliminate, delegate. I mean, it's just all on him. And so we just realized that because of that, and we just, we're bigger picture guys, and have vision for bigger things. And so that's kind of, and we realized that we wanted to build something that wasn't just all about us.
Yeah.
We were talking about that this morning, about do a sales video with Caleb today. And it's like, at some point we want it to be not just us.
Yeah.
We wanted to be just Crestcore.
That's right.
And so we wanted to build something that wasn't just about the Dan and Douglas show. And so
sure,
that's kind of where we were trying to go with it.
So let's talk a little bit about, what it takes to have a good partnership.
Yeah.
What it takes to make them work. Some of the things that I've learned, just in brief before we get into some of our actual notes that we wrote down, but what I've learned is that you can't come into a partnership with someone and you guys both have the same strengths and weaknesses.
Oh, no.
Or you both bring the same thing to the table.
Yeah.
Because that'll never work. And I've seen it not work. That's the reason when we started the show here, when I said I haven't found anyone, it's not because no one in my sphere of influence is not a worthy partner.
Right.
They certainly are.
But they might be a lot like you.
A lot like me.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make much sense to partner up with another like individual. I need to partner up kind of like you and Douglas, same type personalities, but man, you definitely offer something different. And then Douglas, is Douglas. So I just haven't found that right person yet that can say, hey, I've got the same drive and determination as you do.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hit these monster goals that you want to, but I offer this and you can't. Or, I haven't found that yet.
Sure.
So, and you might not ever, I guess that's the key to this too, is you might not ever find a partner that makes sense for you.
It would be better, to your point, to stay on your path than to find the wrong partner.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
I think the whole point of the show is like, you got to decide on your personality what's best.
Yep.
And because some people say, I could never have a partner. I mean, I hear that a ton.
Yeah,
and
you
can. That's limited belief, right?
It really is.
That's that you just don't want one.
It's an absolute too.
It's an absolute. I don't let my kids say absolute, so
right.
I'm not going to say them either.
So talk about don't keep score. What is, like, when you say don't keep score between partners, what do you mean? I mean, it's obvious, but you name some specifics.
Well, that's one of the biggest advice I got when I got married.
Yeah, right.
That was probably the biggest thing I remember is, don't treat it like a college football game. Well, you scored, you did this, I did this, I've done this 3 times, you haven't done it 0,
Yeah.
And so early on, that was real critical because I was traveling a lot. And so I would have to work, from 5 p.m. till whenever I fell asleep, or wake up at 5 a.m. and do my work, fit it in at lunchtime, do leasing calls. All the while, Douglas is fitting it in different ways, and we never kept score of like, oh, you did 5 hours worth of work this week, and I did 3. And
you got to trust the other person.
You got to trust
really.
that there's nobody going to work harder than me than Douglas, and I think Douglas knows there's nobody going to work harder than him than me. Does that make sense? Like none of us are sitting on the beach, drinking a pina colada,
while the other one's just grinding.
That's right, rent ready rehabs and running around the field and. I think, and it's starting to look different as we go, as we get older and wiser, and just as the team plays out, so our roles, and we'll talk about that too, with the strengths of just now really focused on playing to our strengths only, versus back then you had to do everything. And there's some stuff that I should never be doing, like
yes,
writing leases or, stuff that has detail.
On a truck bed.
On a truck bed, yeah. Been there, done that, but I should not be doing that. That's just because that paper is going to go in my file, never got uploaded to the system, there's.
So this is a great topic.
Yeah.
So at talking about a partner, I look at it in this light, in one way, I've looked at other people and to judge them from a professional work eyeglass, I guess, to look at them is if they're running a business now. See, like, to me, one of my things is I wouldn't partner with anybody that's not already in it. If you're just getting in it, I don't see a whole lot of advantage for me to partner with you. I'm using me, but I mean, I'm trying to just really think about another investor. So maybe using me is not the right idea. But if you're brand new, I don't know what you could bring. If you're in the business and you've got X amount of homes and you've been doing this for a couple of years and you've got, maybe you're stuck similar to you. Maybe you got a full-time job and you're traveling. You can only spend so much time doing it, but you can provide X, Y, Z to it. That's one way to look. Also, judge them on what they're currently doing. Are they successful in what they're currently doing? Is there, you know what I mean?
Right.
Try to gauge their drive, because if they don't want it as much as you do, that ain't going to work either.
That's right.
You know what I mean? If they don't want the same goal, if I'm over here going, man, I just want to get 20 houses, and you're like, man, I need 200, we're probably not a good partner.
Well, and then also, and I'm excited to read this book Douglas is reading right now called Givers and Takers.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, there's really, that's extreme, but there's probably one in the middle. People are either givers, always helping others, always looking out for others, or they're takers.
Mm-hmm.
They're always looking out what's best for them, always trying to get the best deal, always trying to just work the system, and if one of us was, and we talked about this Sunday, it's kind of funny, it's ironic we're doing this partnership, but Doug's not talking about this Sunday morning, just we're both givers in different ways.
Yes.
I don't think either one of us is a taker.
I don't think so either.
You know what I mean? Like, if we were both takers, we would be in trouble. Or if we were both,
givers.
One was a giver and one was a taker, that's one thing I'd say. We're going to talk about core values next, but that's where I think that's got to be aligned in your mindset, of who you are and what you want to try to do. Like, and to simplify that in a different way, are you a win-win guy or is it a win-lose? Are you a win-lose guy?
Right. Period. One or the other.
And I don't do well, and what I refer to when I say this, like when somebody's calling me, want to work a deal, and then just turn around and work it a different way, and just, well, where are you want to do this? Like, I don't do well with that mentality. Like,
you feel like you're being dealt.
I'm being dealt. I'm part of a bigger. I'm being played, if you will. Like, if you want me to help you get a deal, I'll help you get that deal or whatever it is. But don't work the system. You know what I mean? Like, either we're partners and try to help somebody, or you're not. So
that's right.
I think I like this the phrase selfless service. That's a huge one to me.
Yeah.
Don't look for everything as what's in it for me.
Yeah.
If you're in that mentality, you'll go far in certain ways if you got hustle and grind and passion.
Yeah.
But you're going to start not making friends soon, if it's always about what's in it for me. Does that make sense? Like
100. Yes, it does.
So,
and you'll quickly find yourself in that,
which plays into the values piece. But
that's right. Shared values. Why do you think, Dan, that sharing values, outside of just normal reasons, ethical and moral reasons, why do you think it's so important in a business atmosphere to share the same values?
So, and I'll also preface this with, I think this also, all this we're trying to do today also applies to where you go to work. Mm-hmm. So I don't think this is just a partnership like own a business. I think you really need to think through this where you go, where you plan to go to work.
Mm-hmm.
I think, so to answer your question, to us, we spent, 6+ months hammering out what we wanted our core values to be, and kind of who we were, what's important to us, what's going to be important to us for the next 30 years. And so that's how we came up with our core values. We didn't just throw a couple lipstick on a pig and wrote some words out and said, okay, well, we got some core values now. I think we really had to make sure that as we talk about every kind of deal and who we're going to partner with to run our businesses, and who we're going to partner with to do our loans and that kind of stuff, that we were aligned on what those core values should be for us. So those are what's the word? The absolutes, basically.
Yep.
So integrity is important to us. Personal accountability. We really truly believe at the end of the day, anything that happens to our business, say your client's upset,
it's ultimately on me.
It's ultimately on me, because what resource or what did I not do to help make sure that client did not get upset?
That's right.
Like, it rolls all the way up to the top, and if we understand that, that's a huge deal. So versus if we didn't have that as a core value, then we could say, well, Dean didn't do his job, and we're always just sitting there blaming and finger pointing. But no, if you roll it all the way back up to us, then it makes your decision matrix a little different. What can I do differently? What can I,
That's right.
Does that make sense? So
absolutely.
That's just one example, but
play to your strengths. That's one thing I like about Culture Index that we use. It's a work tendency
behavior
survey.
Yeah. That's been a game changer for us.
Hasn't it though?
It's almost like psychic reading.
It is amazing what that can do. We could do a whole show on Culture Index, but it's amazing what placing placing employees or contractors or whoever in the right position based off of their work tendencies.
That's right.
And I'll be the first one to admit that I am very weak in some areas as far as running a brokerage, right? I mean, or managing a brokerage. I'm not good at some very small, minute, detailed things.
Right.
I'm more big picture, let's get it in. So we played off to those, and I have help, right? We have remote
It shores
team
up your
members,
weaknesses.
shores up my weaknesses. And then the people that are helping me couldn't do what I do. They couldn't sit behind this mic.
Right.
They couldn't get on the phone like I do. So there's different attributes that everybody has. And I think we've done a great job of playing to our strengths.
And yeah, I mean, two examples I would give. The simple one would be, we had a lady that used to take maintenance calls, and she just wasn't that good at it. You know, the tenants were not happy. The phone wouldn't get answered, a lot of voicemails. And we put culture index to it. You realize, oh, wow, she's more analytical and introverted. You know, the survey really tells you that, but she's also super detailed. So what you do is you put her in the background. You know,
put her back there helping an accountant or doing something like that.
You got front stage people and backstage people. Front stage, you know, people that want to be on the phone and out in front of crowds and with people and all that stuff. And you got backstage, and both of them are critically important. And so what we learned is just we put her in the admin role with paperwork and organizing and keeping things, you know, flowing the same way, and she thrived. You know, then we put somebody else that's more bubbly, that loves to be on the phone, loves talking to people. They get energy from talking to others. And guess what? Your tenant, you know,
tenant's more happy. They're getting more stuff answered.
That's right. Clients are happier because they're getting some empathy and some, you know, that kind of stuff.
So playing off strengths is huge.
Yes.
That's one thing I think we've done a great job at. I would look at your strengths in your partner and push those, play off of those, try to help in some of the areas where you both are weak. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, I'll just say that, like, for us, it's been, you know, I'd say even the three of us, if you talk, you know, partnership with a brokerage, you know, I love, you know, doing the deals and doing the next business. Douglas loves plopping in that deal into the system that does it the same way every time, so that everything's buttoned up, everything's accounted for, a checklist, it's downloaded, you know, uploaded.
Because you don't
whatever.
Need two guys that love the deal,
no.
but don't
follow through.
Don't follow
back
through.
End.
Yeah, because you got a bunch of deals that are sloppy and they're going to fall all the way apart.
It could be dangerous and that kind of stuff. And then play to your strengths. You know, you like you said, you're visionary. You love pushing. You love closing. You know, so you love talking to people and just connecting that house to that person. You know, but now you got a shovel. You can, you know, pass on that. You get a listing. You know, and you just pass it to your system, and your system takes care of it. So we've worked together to shore up all of our weaknesses. And I think that's critically important. I think, you know, the E-Myth talks a lot about that kind of stuff, you know, book, where, you know, we just get some business owners. That's why, you know, you cap out.
That's right.
Because you're doing all these things, and 90%, 80% of the Pareto principle, 80% of them are playing against you because that's not what you're good at. You can do it. We can all do.
Yeah, that isn't the point.
That's not the point.
No, the point. Just, don't get that like, I can't close a deal. Yes, I mean, I can schedule inspections.
Yeah, you used to do leasing.
I did it all myself. Yeah. So I mean, but my point, if we're going to do our goals, which are many houses sold a month,
that's right.
Then you've got to play off my weakness so I can just continue to focus on strength.
Correct.
Same way for everyone else. I mean, it's not a deficiency. It's just something you're better at, no matter if it's what I do or what Brooke does, our transaction coordinator, or what Randall does. I mean, we all have way different roles, and we're way different in personality. And
so think about your buddy in Arkansas. I mean, I think about those guys. They partnered up, and they didn't really align in their strengths and weaknesses.
Two very similar personalities.
Two very similar. One was more stronger than the other. One ran the bull, so they never had an equal share of. You know, so I guess that's the kind of the bigger point. Like when you're creating partnerships or thinking about buying houses together or wholesaling together, you know, flush this out. What are your core values, and what are you really good at, and what do you love to do? Like, it's a little bit of self-awareness and a little bit challenging. You got to admit. You got to admit. That's right. You got to admit. You got to admit what you're not good at.
Maybe I need to focus on some other stuff. That segues right into the next one: open, honest, healthy conflict.
Yep.
You got to be honest with yourself and with your partner.
Yep.
Hey, I'm not as sharp in this area.
Yep.
You clearly are. Let's let you focus on here. Here's an area where maybe you're not as sharp, but I feel like I am. I can focus over here. Challenge the idea or behavior, and not the person, right?
Yep. Yep. I mean, just, there's a book out there called Radical Candor,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just something we're trying to pervade in our office of just, if you have an issue with somebody or something they did, not really with somebody, that's the whole point. It's not really,
It's their process or it's their work thing. I mean, I don't think especially in ours, no one is personally attacking anybody.
Correct.
You might find a system that you don't like or that is not rubbing with your department or whatever it may be, but that healthy conflict is good. I think we did some of that yesterday. So I think it's good to have that healthy conflict.
Because if you don't, things fester. That's where you see partnerships start to just, like that one I talked about. They never sat down and really listened to each other and worked out. They could have probably worked it out, like to play to their strengths, and I looked at their culture index, their profiles, and they're pretty similar. They had very similar, so then they never could align on who's doing what. And
no, I was a therapist.
Yeah, that's right.
Nah, they're both good guys, but you are right. They had very similar, just similar features that didn't work. Vision. This to me is the most important.
Yeah.
If the vision that you have is not, I'm not going to have to say identical, but if it's not in the same real close vicinity,
in the ballpark,
you guys are going to be, you're going to struggle. And I mentioned it earlier, but if you have a goal to get to 200 homes and I've got a goal to get to 30 homes, we're probably not going to be the best partners.
Or what if you both said, I want to buy 200 homes. And so you say you want 200, I want 200. And then you left it that, oh, great, man, we're aligned. We're going to buy 200 houses.
Let's partner.
And then you get into it and you've bought 50 and it's like, well, I want to get out after 10 years. I want the appreciation and the pay down on the principal. And I just want to cash out and live off a CD or money market. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And the other guy's like, oh, wait, I thought we were going to go for 20 years and have it paid off and just live on the residual cash flow. See how you started out aligned pretty good, and then all of a sudden it just went crazy different.
So how do you prevent that? That's a good little topic. So how do you need to make sure you sit down quarterly and talk about your goals and your vision? I mean, do you need to plan out 3 and 4 years?
Yeah, I mean, obviously take your time on the front end. Like those guys I talked to yesterday. I mean, I really want them to, they need to sit down and not just throw some email and say we should partner and put $10 million to work or whatever. They really need to, who's doing what, where do they want to go, what kind of houses do they want, and what's the long-term plan. And things change, and that's why people get in and out. But where are you going to go? And what do you want your roles to be?
Right.
I think that's super important. And then to your point, having checkups every so often. And I think that's one of the things that if I had to think of one big thing for us is with Douglas and I running every other day, we were constantly calibrating every other day to make sure we are aligned on where we're going to go. Now we always, I come at it from a whole different way. He comes at it a different way. But at the end of the day, because of our core values and our long-term vision and those kind of things, we're trying to get to pretty much the same spot.
That's right.
And I might want to get there faster. You might want to get there slower. You might want to go with, this type of employee. I might want, but we're trying to get to the same.
But it's healthy conflict.
That's right.
That's what I mean. Like you guys are.
And it's a give and take.
It's a good debate. I mean, it's like, hey, should we? No, yes. And the reasons why. So we've hit some really good topics this morning, within partnerships, what we've learned, don't keep score, share your values, play to each other's strengths, open, honest, and healthy conflict. I mean, that to me is one of the biggest ones. You can't be afraid to discuss.
Yeah, clear lines of communication. How are you gonna communicate and make sure you keep that dialogue open? One
big one is the vision.
Yeah.
Where you're going to go, how fast you're going to get there. Because if you got different opinions on that, you're going to struggle.
Yep.
All right, partnerships. Even with me, you've got a few questions on this.
Yeah, man. I think
role reversal here.
Well, I think it'd be good for the listeners just to like when you're joining a company and you're going to run a division or department or what does that look like? So, I don't know. I think most listeners know this is your second tour at Crestcore.
Yep.
You were our very first agent back in 2012. It's crazy. Time flies.
Yes, it is.
So we talked for 10 years about you coming aboard, and you finally came, and that lasted several years.
Almost 4.
And then you went to Keller and did your own thing.
Started the show, the radio show.
Started the radio show. So I guess what's different this time versus the second time? Like the second time versus the first time. What's different? Why would you do that? And what was, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, my reasoning. So the first time basically was I wanted to get into real estate. I wanted to get into investing in real estate. I'd been an agent at that point for 10 years. So I wanted to get into investing in real estate. You and I had talked about it for years at holidays. We're related by marriage. So at holidays, functions and things. So the reason I was attracted to you guys because of the success you had already had. That was part of it. You guys had already, I'm come from the belief of, you are who you hang with. And I had a goal of owning X amount of homes before when I retire. And I had to start with that process. So jumping on the Crestcore kind of bandwagon early, I mean, I would think I was the fifth person to work there, if I remember correctly. But I learned a ton, right? So I started wheeling and dealing these $30,000 houses that I thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Why would I do that? But you learn how to earn the right amount of commission on them. You learn how to structure your business to where it's profitable and because a lot of people say 3% on 25,000. How do you do that? Well, I mean, there's flat fees we have for those sort of things. So it's not quite the percentage what you're used to. So the first time around, we started and we went and we were just growing. I think the whole company just was in the mind frame of let's grow. The brokerage grew, more agents came. I began to just kind of do my own thing. And it wasn't that I was bitter or had any, it was just how it grew, how it developed. We weren't conscious of, hey, Dean's going in this direction and we're going in here.
It kind of split
a little bit
to the point where it was a wide gap, right? You
guys were running the team, the Crestcore team with a broker and with a couple of agents. And I was running my team. I had a couple people working for me and my team, and we're doing BPOs and transactions, and I would dabble in the residential stuff as well. And I came to you guys and was like, hey man, I'm looking for a change. I'm looking to grow my business. And at the time, you guys had a program you were running and we're trying to see if that worked and stuck with it. So I made the decision to move, Amber and I, to move to Keller Williams and start. I had to make a decision. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, the one thing that through this, as you're telling the story, like Douglas and I had, like, because we were aligned, we had a vision of what we were trying to do. We just know how to get there. Right. So all that you're talking about is like churning through, like learning what basically almost like the rental business, we're not to do. Tried this model. You were in the middle of the crossfire. You guys definitely
tried. I mean, there were, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
Right.
You guys gave it a valid effort of, hey, let's try this system.
That's right.
Let's try this one. Let's try this.
And you left in the middle of that.
In the middle of all that, I kind of said, hey, I'm doing my thing, and I'm going to go. Well, then I'd leave, and you guys introduced Culture Index to the company. You began to give that survey out. I remember, I'll never forget this. Douglas shot me a text message. Hey, man, you mind taking this survey?
You love Tess. I already know her.
I was like, oh my gosh. He goes, listen, I know you're not a huge fan of sitting down and wasting time with this. He goes, but if you could just be honest, answer it, it'll take you 15 minutes. So sure enough, I did. And you were at the time coming on the show once a month.
That's right.
Just bringing in your info and knowledge and stuff like that. And we began to talk again here on the air. Hey, what would it look like if you came out? This was 9 or 10 months after I left. It's like, oh my goodness, man, what did I do on that exam? But thank goodness for it, because now the difference is, you guys brought me back to head up the brokerage, to lead the agents that were there, and to try that system. And believe it or not, we tried a system there that didn't work.
That's right.
Right. So now we've moved on to where I'm the only agent, and we're going to build down.
Team down,
So we have finally, and this ought to give the listeners a little bit of positive thinking. Like, don't think you're going to run right into a partnership and everything's going to be working right away.
That's
right. Because we tried this.
This is probably version 1, 2, 3. Probably this is
4 or 5.
4 or 5. This is version, so the listener should understand, like, through partnerships, partnership with Douglas, now partnership with you as far as you were an agent. Now you come back to run the brokerage. This is probably version 5.0 if I had to just go back and think through.
So it took us that long, us meaning all of us. I mean,
that's right.
I didn't know what was going on there. You guys were working what you hoped would work. So that should be something for the listeners to think like, hey, man, these guys tried it 5 times. And I do believe now, I think we're on the same page as far as it's working. We still have miles to go as far as what our goals are and what we're doing. But I can confidently say now it's working. Mm-hmm. We're hitting some of the goals, the initial early goals that we wanted. We're hitting some of the numbers that we initially wanted. Now the question is can we keep moving and go forth, the next few years?
Yeah. So what like looking at the first stint, second stint, what are the 2 or 3 things you think you've learned that listeners should hear about as far as partnering and partnerships? And
you got to be open. So here's what I was open.
Okay.
When I left, it wasn't bitter. I wasn't upset. Mm-hmm. I was just going this direction, and you guys were going that direction. Well, when you came back and you come over there and you were like, hey, man, what does this look like? My very first reaction was like, what? Like, why all of a sudden are we changing now? And I could have just said, no. Mm-hmm. Why? That's not. So you got to be open. Mm-hmm. So the first thing I did was listen.
Well,
hey, Dean, this is why we've changed. And you guys were very open and honest too. Hey, we didn't play off your strengths.
Yep.
And you guys admitted that, and I admitted that. Hey, I didn't hear what you guys were trying to do.
I was about to say that's one thing I heard you just say. Like, now you listened more than you did before.
Way more.
So you're listening and regurgitating. I mean, like processing where this could lead to.
Yes.
So that's different. So
just being open-minded to a different idea. Mm-hmm. And another thing is too, it's a self. I want to get this out because it's something that was important to me. You've got to, as an individual, I was stuck at a certain income and a certain success level for about 6 years. Mm-hmm. And I had to make a decision to do something outside of my comfort zone. The first one was this radio show. Mm-hmm. Okay. The second one was coming to lead a team of agents in a brokerage or have people under me. I mean, that's a lot of responsibility. Yeah. You guys hold me accountable for a lot of stuff. So I had to accept that new role, those new work hours, the time and effort that you put into it. So that to me was be open, be ready to listen to ideas and to different things.
I remember when you first, I remember counseling you, coaching you when you had one employee.
Oh, man.
And it's like,
I didn't
damn, what do I do?
Oh, man. Yeah.
When you had your BPOs and all that stuff. And,
sure.
And now you're leading a whole team.
Yeah.
And that team's only going to get bigger.
That's right.
And so by playing off your strengths and then listening and coaching and learning and growing, and I just think that's this is huge.
It's been huge for us, yeah.
What about, I know we got a couple minutes.
Yeah, we're almost there.
You know, what do you think about partnerships? Like real estate is a real, like, me business.
Yeah.
I think.
It is.
You know, what have you learned about partnerships now being in it to it almost 20 years versus when you first started and you were an agent sitting in a new build? What do partnerships mean to you, like, globally?
I've had to learn that there's enough real estate, and we're almost have to go. I've had to learn there's enough real estate for everyone to sell.
Yeah.
So I've had to understand that not every house I'm going to sell, and I've had to partner with other people to try to help me get there. Mm-hmm. So basically just understanding that other people can help me get to where I want to go, and I need to learn to accept that help.
Gotcha.
That's been part of it.
That's good.
Hey, man, this is good. Whenever we run out of time, we had a good topic.
Yeah.
Guys, appreciate you joining the Memphis Real Estate Hour. Go to CrestcoreRealty.com for the investments of the week. We'll see you next Tuesday at 8 a.m.
I swear I can't get enough.